All right, everybody, we got some pretty big news coming out of Tesla with regards to Samsung on a deal where Tesla will be embarking on building its own chips for the next generation of artificial intelligence. And Elon has been talking about this on X for the last 12 to 24 hours. There's a lot to talk about here, not just in relation to Tesla and Samsung, but competitors like TSMC and NVIDIA in some way. So if you follow the Tesla story closely, you know that Tesla has been going on this AI journey for a minute. They're building things like the self-driving cars using FSD. They're building things like the Tesla bot, which is going to use the same architecture. And it seems like Tesla's idea here is to try and diversify their ability to source chips for their platforms by bringing it as close to in-house as possible versus relying on a third party to provide the chips without their design and without their manufacturing processes, et cetera, et cetera. So it's kind of similar to how NVIDIA is doing it today with TSMC. It's not a one-to-one sort of correlation, but NVIDIA designs chips for AI. They design GPUs for AI, but then they outsource that process, the actual building, the fabrication of the chips themselves to a company called TSMC, which is based in Taiwan. What it looks like is happening here with Tesla is that starting in 2027 with Samsung, with the plant they're opening right here in the Austin area in Taylor, which is about a 45 minute drive north of Tesla's Gigafactory facility, they're going to embark on that same exact journey with the AI6 computer chip that's going to be used specifically for Tesla's AI ambitions with their cars and their robots. And it seems like also for training compute as well. So to kind of dumb this down a little bit for people that might not be familiar, the way it works right now is that there's two separate types of computers that are used for artificial intelligence. You have a training computer, which is primarily, as of very recently, has been GPUs, the same as a graphics card that you would use, let's say, to play games or play videos on your computer. And then you also have an inference computer, which is the computer that goes on the local device you're going to be running artificial intelligence on. So in the case of Tesla, it would be on the car itself. And that inference computer makes sense of the data that the training computer has generated, and it's optimized to do that locally on the device. That AI6 chip, it's still kind of cloudy. Elon Musk has said that, has given clues to this, but it looks like Tesla wants to sort of bring everything in-house, or rather everything under one chipset, where both the training and the inference is under one chip, and that's what that AI6 chip is meant to be. Now, this deal with Samsung is part of a bigger $37 billion, $40 billion-ish deal that Samsung has done with the state of Texas to build this chip plant in Taylor. So Tesla is investing about $16 billion, $17 billion to that process. But Elon Musk on X said that this will be the beginning of potentially multiple investments down the road that is going to make this sort of partnership much bigger down the future. And if you sort of think about the AI trend so far, this has to happen in a lot of different ways for Tesla's long-term AI vision to come to fruition. It reminds me a lot of what Tesla did with the battery factory, the Nevada factory that they built back in 2014, and they started building with the intention of having enough batteries out there manufactured for their electric vehicle ambitions that they wanted to do in 2020 and beyond with the Model 3. If you sort of go back in time, in 2013, 2014, there wasn't enough batteries in the world. There just didn't exist enough batteries for Tesla to be able to reach a 500,000 car manufacturing goal that they had per year. They literally had to build their own factory for batteries in Nevada to ensure that the cars had the batteries to be able to sell them to customers. So that was one example of trying to get ahead of their ambitions. And this AI6 thing, this partnership with Samsung, is very similar to that. Now, the sort of surrounding stuff with AI, the supply chain and the demand for AI is monumental. And it will be monumental for the coming years and probably decades, honestly. So this is not so much a sort of get into the game to try and, let's say, position yourself to ensure you have enough chips to run your cars, but this is probably much more around ensuring you have the specialized chipset that is specific to your needs, that is going to be designed by Tesla for Tesla's needs. It's very similar. I would think about this much more closely. And again, like this is evolving. We're going to get more details, but so far what it seems like to me, it's very close to what Apple did with their M1 chips or their M2 chips or the M3 chips for the MacBook, sort of their in-house chip design that is optimized for the Apple OS and on both the computer and the phones, et cetera, et cetera. It's specific for their needs. This is very much akin to that. And instead of using TSMC, so the Taiwan Semiconductor Company based out of Taiwan, they've diversified and they went with Samsung. And I think the reason why they went with Samsung is that Samsung has had some issues ramping up their foundry sort of business, this chip making business to compete with TSMC. They've lost some customers. It hasn't been nearly as successful. And so the partnership with Tesla, I think that Elon views this as, okay, so we have a low cost relative to TSMC. We're going to be able to make chips at a lower cost with Samsung. It's going to be right here in the United States. There's a lot of incentivizing going on for chip building in the United States, like the CHIPS Act, et cetera, et cetera. And based on Elon's tweeting or posting on X, Samsung has agreed with Elon for him to go in and actually go through the factory and help them ramp up manufacturing, help them with the design, et cetera, et cetera. So this is a very, very close partnership between those two companies. Now, what's super interesting is that Pete Bannon, who is one of the chip architects, really the chip architect for Tesla, that used to work at Apple, that's a lot of the work he did with Apple to get sort of the Apple we know today, with their super customized chips and everything being sort of customized for the Apple ecosystem. He works at Tesla and has been since 2016. And he's one of the primary people that has been behind getting Tesla to be where they are today, where they can make the decision to go to a Samsung and make the deal with AI6. So that's a very interesting thing to think through, that Tesla has the expertise internally to make this happen. As it relates to companies like NVIDIA or TSMC, I don't think long-term this really matters much from their perspective. I think the demand for AI is going to be so vast and so large that NVIDIA is going to keep making computers. They're going to keep making chips, rather, and GPUs and AI inference chips and AI compute chips. TSMC is going to keep cranking as much as they can. Now they have a lot of risk with China potentially going in and sort of, invading Taiwan and taking Taiwan. And I think a lot of this stuff that's happening now is to, especially, not just Tesla, but like the broader market and some of the things that the United States has been trying to put in place. They're trying to create incentives to diversify away from Taiwan and bring a lot of that manufacturing somewhere else, because in the worst case scenario of China, let's say, invading Taiwan and then taking Taiwan for their own purposes, all of a sudden China has access to 95% of or more of the chip manufacturing capacity in the entire globe. The Samsung play by Tesla could be a diversification away from over-reliance on TSMC. But I think that the reality is that AI is going to be such a gigantic demand lever for chips in general that this is probably just the beginning. Now, as it benefits Tesla long term, this is sort of very much in the corner of, this is how Tesla likes to do things. They like to be in control. They want to have vertical integration, and they want to have say in how things are manufactured and put together, because ultimately they're going to be using those things for their own purposes, right? So there could be a world where Teslas could have the best performing AI chip out there. If you think about their car batteries, especially before the Chinese players really ramped up, they had a huge lead for a long time. Then that lead sort of closed, and now it's become very, very close to where you have, jockeying for first place. It looks like Tesla's 4680, which is again an in-house designed battery. Looks like that's the best performant battery, or will be the best performant battery by the end of the year. Then you think about other Musk companies like XAI and Grok. Grok seems to be the best performing LLM out of all the LLMs out there. So far, they're top in most benchmarks. Tesla's FSD performance speaks for itself. They have by far the best self-driving performance of any vehicle out there. So from a technological perspective, this is part of Tesla's MO, is to just take control of the thing that you're trying to build and then become first place, and then try to keep first place for as long as you can. And now they're getting into the chip game right here in the United States. And then for the broader United States, this is actually a really big deal, because now you have a big player that has taken the lead and sort of taken the flag and said, okay, I'm going to start making chips in the United States. I'm going to pour $16, $17 billion with Samsung to start making chips in the United States. It's literally 30 minutes up the road from where I am at. I want to start hauling those chips down to put them in my cars and put them in my training clusters. So y'all should probably start doing that too, right? So this is very good news for the United States, very good news for Tesla, very good news for Samsung. For Tesla and for NVIDIA and TSMC, they have another competitor coming on board, but the demand for AI is going to be so large that it's only going to be helping them to get better. Same thing for Tesla. And then we have some guests coming later this week to talk through this, because this is a lot of layers here, y'all. This is like 1,000 different layers going on. So there's going to be a lot of information for us to parse through to really figure out what the true long-term potential is for Tesla when it comes to this. But I think my overall take is that Tesla's continuing to pour everything into trying to become a leader in artificial intelligence. They have to do that if they want to reach their ambitions with the bot and the car. And this is par for the course. So the fact that this is happening is signal that they're serious. And so humanoid robots are going to happen. Self-driving cars everywhere is going to happen. And it's just a matter of execution and time until they get it there. So we'll see how long it takes, and we'll see what kind of progress they make. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the content, subscribe and like, and we'll see you in the next one.